Jane, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Jane, as an artist and a business executive, you operate on the belief that beauty is essential in our lives. Tell us about the journey that led you to have this specific belief.
I really do believe that beauty is right in front of you, whether it's in a face of a loved one or face of a stranger, natural beauty or spiritual beauty. So I have been a working parent my entire life. I've been blessed by having such a rich career, but that's meant some really long, hard days. I raised our daughters in the Chicagoland area, and I remember sometimes flying home from a meeting, and hoping I make pickup time on time. So there's one thing to be doing it from driving from a local office, landing at O'Hare in the winter adds another dimension to that. So when I say, full throttle career, think of it in all forms. And when you're worried, stressed, feel like you have too many demands and you don't have that pause and space in your mind, you're not feeling that beauty. You're not seeing the joy in your loved ones. You're not seeing the blessings that are in front of you. So that was the impetus, is that I needed to give myself some pauses. And it's not a skill that I really had early in my career. It's something that I developed over time. And as I got stronger and stronger as a leader, it's something that I got more purposeful. And I was actually then stronger at my job. Like, it doesn't take away from it, it makes you stronger. And then when you share it with your team as a leader, when you share that ability to pause so that you're stronger, it's amazing the exponential impact it can have when you have those good practices. You do them and you share them with others.
When you talk about the ability to pause, I was wondering if we can dive deeper into other key practices that can help individuals interrupt the pattern that we often see, particularly when you look at how the brain works. And stress and negativity can actually hijack our
Mhm.
ability to notice beauty around us.
Mhm.
What are several tips that you can share with our audience in terms of how they can find more beauty and more joy, irrespective of the challenges and the realities that they're facing?
Two pop into my mind immediately, and one is how you start your day, right? So, I do every day, even if it's only 5 minutes, right? So whatever time you have, I get up before I need to be present for somebody else and give myself a few minutes. On an ideal day, I personally would be doing a gratitude journal because it helps my mind be in a positive place. But sometimes it's a quiet moment with a cup of coffee, right? Sometimes it is taking a moment, like if it's a sunny day, to look outside and see the sunshine. But taking a few moments, as deliberate as you can, to collect your thoughts and have that mental pause for you before you dive into your day. And another thing, and I have it, I like talk about practicing. I've got it going right now. I always have something that's pleasing to my eye near me on my desk. And I say that because sometimes you might be in a challenging meeting situation, whether it's for whatever the reason is, and maybe you start your day great, but something happens during the day and you need a little something in your mental state to give you that pause, like, and it might not be time, but it just keeps you anchored in your values and your being, and not having the activity of the day that's extra special, we'll maybe call it, take too much over of you. So like right now I have a candle burning just because that's pleasing to me. So it's literally an eyesight. When you see my eyes going to the side, I can just quickly glance at it. And I have a little paperweight that actually a former gal that used to work for me gave me, and it's a heart, and it says the word laugh. Because her comment was like, Jane, your smile lights up the room. And we can be in a meeting and maybe it's really heavy and maybe it's really tense. And then like she would look over at me and I'm smiling because it would just change the kind of aura of the meeting. And so she gave that to me as a gift. It's sitting on my desk right now as we're speaking. So, like, it takes just 1 second for me to glance at it if I ever need it, just to put it right back in my place and remind me of the positivity that I can bring to whatever the situation is.
How do you define joy today, and how is it different from happiness, pleasure, or success?
I think joy, something's wonderful, right? And it's a feeling, it's a spirit. I don't mean it in like a fanciness way. I mean it in a very humble gratitude where your heart is, and where your heart being joyful, feeling joy in the moment. I was walking yesterday and I noticed I'm in a warm climate and I noticed a yellow butterfly landing on a flower. Well, I could have easily blitzed right by it, but I just stopped to watch the butterfly flutter. Like that was a joyful moment just because it was just free, it was spirited. I was happy not to be in a snowstorm at the moment. So that was a joyful moment. But I say it because it's so simple and it's so just being present and being able to take in the joyful moment that's there versus the joyful moment's there, but your head is stressed, preoccupied, and you are unable to receive the joy, the beauty, the spirit, the love, the warmth that's there.
If there would be a recipe for joy
Mm.
or living more joyfully, what would be the three main ingredients in your view?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say spirituality. I do believe in life is more than what we as humans might make of it. Relationships, whatever your relationships are, and multiple relationships, but that interaction with one another and purpose, whatever you're called to do, whether that is a paying profession or not a paying profession, but what, your purpose, those would be the three things that just come to top of mind.
And if joy were a measurable outcome like success or
Mm.
productivity, what one metric would you choose to track it?
Mm. Something in repeatability. So, I think when you experience joy with someone else or in a setting, you want to do it again. Meaning, like if you think of a loved one, a friend, and maybe it's a stranger, somebody you just met, an acquaintance, and they just warm your heart. Well, you want to see them again. Maybe it is a favorite holiday. And I say that because it's people coming together and traditions have a way of kind of making the moment more than what maybe each element is. And then you want to do it again. So that wanting to repeat the moment would be how I would measure it.
You touched upon purpose, and I want to go back to your early 20s when you
Mhm.
had a devastating car accident.
Mhm.
How did that shape your view on life and your purpose?
I would only spend my time doing something I wanted, whether that's family or work. But I was fortunate that I had such a lovely career, but I always gave myself the out that life was too short to be giving of your time, your thoughts, your energy if it wasn't the right thing to be doing. So, whether that's a relationship, whether that's an interest, whether that's a hobby, whether that's a career, that's kind of just a promise I made to myself.
And is that promise what led you to leave the corporate world and build your current venture?
Yeah, well, and I've done a lot. So when I say leave the corporate world, I mean real, and I'm actually helping a friend with his company right now. So I left full time. I didn't leave completely, but we are talking over 40 years in corporate leadership roles. So I kind of went back to my roots. So, I decided earlier this year to launch a company called Zest. Its platform is a little beauty every day. And I realized just in doing some self reflection and work, specifically actually at a bold retreat with Lee, like I forgot that I was professionally trained in calligraphy. I forgot that I used to paint all the time. I forgot that my artwork was in the state fair. Like I just had been so invested in my professional career, I forgot some of the skill building I had done in my youth and had actually practiced it. And that's kind of what, and I was bridging it back to, I always wanted to give more to the next generation, whether that's my own daughters or it's the next generation in the workforce. Like I wanted them to learn, like, give yourself the pause, like, take care of yourself while you're working. So it was kind of the melding of those two, of remembering my own roots, and then, but having it make an impact where you're at, not not encouraging others, not asking others to like go outside of their role, but no, bring beauty into it. And one of the forms that I do that, is with Zest. I'm now painting original watercolors and I have them produced into cards. And literally the card can be, a card that you give to somebody, but it also can be framed. Like it can be that cute little object on your desk that gives you that mental pause in your day. A lot of times people will mention, okay, we live in a really fast technology driven, right? So you think about like texting, what you've got on Instagram, pick your social media and how rampant it is in our lives. And then you think about the thought of a handwritten note, not instant, not something that's gone in just a second, but that can be lasting. And I use social media too. It's not an either or, it's an and being able to have those moments that you want to capture in a little bit more special, meaningful way, because it's reflecting an emotion, it's reflecting a relationship, it's reflecting a joy that you really want to share and savor. That's something that really kind of has led me to be doing Zest with a little beauty every day today.
I was wondering if you could share what your purpose is today and how you came to define it.
So my purpose today really is being present, fully present. And that's something I've been working on. It is not easy to really have a goal of being fully present with those that are important to you in your life. So that is my purpose, and being that way, living that way, and expressing it and helping others express it. I mentioned that I am helping a friend out with his company, but that is aligned, right? Because I'm showing up genuinely. I'm present. I am there to support them. I am not on their org chart, right? Like I am there for them to be successful. I can roll up my sleeves and do some work, but we all know that when you're really supporting what someone, it's how you show up as well as maybe what the deliverable is. So in that consulting realm, that's how it plays out. In Zest, it's in the cards that are available on my site. And I had the opportunity to do, it's a topic called brushstrokes. And I joined a leadership retreat that's multiple day. And so, as you can imagine, the guests all arrive I'm going to call it night one, have dinner. And then day one, the first full day, is all about the strategy topic of the retreat. And people are fully engaged and they're working on whatever the topic is that is the focus of the retreat. And then it's morning of day two. And I had the opportunity to lead folks in their own watercolor painting. So now let me remind you, these are working professionals. There's not an artist in the crowd, right? But this happened to be this fall in Vermont, and I had hand-drawn maple leaf for everyone. I set up a station. So like literally after breakfast, the first topic of the day, and we did it in an hour. It wasn't, it was very agenda friendly for the retreat. And as I introduced everybody, I'd set up their stations in advance, gave them a little bit of a walkthrough so that they'd be comfortable to do their own painting. Because again, these are working professionals, right? Like in the finance world, in the PR world, like not there to paint. And then when I said, okay, let's begin, after I'd orient them, gave them a little pep talk, told them what was in front of them, how to get started, a few little tips, all of a sudden, okay, this is 20 women who had been together for 24 hours. The room went dead silence. Like if you had asked 20 women to be silent, you would not have gotten the result. But literally everybody just stopped and focused. And obviously then the chit chat began again. So at the end of the hour, we're, gathering everybody. So everybody had the same, I hand sketched these maple leaves and left some space for their words for what their strategy was. No two paintings were alike. They were all beautiful. They all reflected each person. And then of course they took them home. And then they're sitting on their desk so that when they're doing whatever their profession, their calling is, that they've got their own reminder from the strategy session of where they were working on their purpose right in front of them as a visual reminder to, stay true to their core, their beliefs, their values, what they were working on in that retreat. So that is like that intersection of art and pausing to support a strategy. And the strategy can be anything, right? It was incredible. It's hard to describe the moment, but like, oh my gosh, I would do that again in a heartbeat. So fun. In the feedback from the participants, from I didn't even know I could paint. I came home with the painting that I did myself, was just incredible.
Amazing. I love that story.
Very fun.
You mentioned earlier that you have two daughters. How
Mhm.
has parenting shaped you and your desire to help them live more joyfully? And what advice would you have for parents that may have a similar objective?
Yeah. So, my hope for my girls is that they live with joy, right? That they find their purpose and they play to their strengths and they live joyfully, whatever that is, wherever that is, whatever that is. I'll say right now, both are engaged. So it's a really big year for us with two weddings underway. They don't live in the same state. They both chose two different universities, two different states, but they both chose the path that was right for them. So I think it's that being comfortable in your own choices as a parent, that you're able to give that gift of being open for your own children to find their path, supporting them, but having it be their path. We've done that through education. We've done that through, support of friends and families. We've done that by having and practicing our faith. It's been multifaceted and also like living it. And when I make a mistake, saying, "Ooh, that what you're right. I shouldn't have said it that way. I'm sorry." So just living honestly and purposely myself, as an example and staying beside them. So while our daughters are adults, there is no such thing as the expiration of parenting. Like I'll always be their mom and they'll always be my daughters. And it looks different as they're at different stages of their life. But that relationship of parent and child is, forever. There is no expiration. So just happy to support them on their journey with my heart.
How beautiful. Congratulations. And this brings me to the topic of life transitions, as you're describing how your daughters are going to be getting married, pursuing new lives. I was thinking about what you were sharing, that they were in different states, different universities. How did you manage that life transition when all of a sudden your daughters left and you are empty nesters? I've had certain guests that have shared that it is a very difficult life transition. And I was wondering if you could share with us any advice for welcoming joy through transitions, whatever they may be.
Yeah. I'm going to say being active and present. It's like I'm going to say going off to college. Well, help them plan their rooms, like went shopping with them for linens. And I remember each girl when they went away, one of the things I gave them was a framed picture of us on a fun family moment. We were very deliberate when they were graduating from high school that their high school gift was an experience. And so the photo I gave them was from the experience that they chose. And then planning a visit. So like let's be, like you don't leave it open-ended without knowing when you're going to see them again. And, staying connected. I mean, I'm going to say that's one of the gifts of having all the technology. Like it's really, we have a family text, so on any given, in fact, just today, we've already done. So one of our daughters is getting married literally 1 year from today, to the day. And so I sent a text to she and our future son-in-law, like, see ya in a year. And I did a little champagne glass with it, so it's just little things to stay present and connected. It looks different when they're young and living in your home than when they're maybe teenagers and running out the door and don't want to talk to you. And then they're going off to college, right? But staying present with where they are all along is, to me, that's the number one thing. And both emotionally visiting, inviting them to visit, still planning fun things together. So it's kind of funny because we did a family trip, and I think it was certainly after our older daughter had graduated from college, and maybe the younger daughter was in college. And I think I said, I'm surprised you guys still want to travel with us. Like, I thought you would have written us off. Like, we're old. Like you don't want to hang with us anymore. Like, well, you keep planning fun stuff. So we're going to keep showing up. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. And this past year, my birthday was on Easter. And so we had invited our kids, like, hey, would you want to come for the weekend? And I say kids, just meaning, yeah, I don't mean age, but our kids, and at the time, their boyfriends, they all came. And they came for 4 days. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't ask them to come for 4 days. I just said, would you want to visit? So I think it's also like leaving some freedom for them to make their own choices, meaning that with why they visit, I'm not prescribing everything, right? Like the door is open for them to feel at home and welcome and still be themselves. We don't have a lot of rules in our house. We expect respect, but we don't have a lot of rules. And that's been forever. So one of my favorites just recently over the holidays was when I saw one of our future son-in-laws going to the kitchen, helping himself and making himself breakfast. Just didn't ask, just went. And to me, that was beautiful because that meant they were comfortable enough in our home to feel at home. So I think that's kind of the tone that I've always set, however that is. And I think that keeps the relationships close, even if there's miles between you.
If you could give our audience one practice or one challenge to do in the coming days in order to elevate their appreciation for beauty and joy, what would it be?
Just write down something that surprised you, caught your attention during the day. Again, when I mentioned a little beauty every day, it's grounded in the word seek. Because if you pause to see it, you'll see it. If you keep racing, if you keep moving forward faster than, your energy sometimes has, you're right, you won't see it. But if you give yourself the luxury of pausing, you will see the joy, you will see the beauty, you will see the love, you will see goodness that's already with you.
On these beautiful words, Jane, thank you immensely for everything you have shared. It's been a true joy.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrea. It's just been lovely to connect with you and how fun.